That's what it is. Shall we? Shall we do this game club thing?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
I suppose.
Right. Who's ready to? Who's kicking us off? George, this is your deal. Let's get pumped.
Okay.
Never mind.
Hello,
Welcome
Internet,
to the.
Well, hey, if you want me to do the introduction, shut the hell up. Hello, Internet, and welcome to Twinstiq's Game Club. I am True Legend Killer, and we are back to finish out our game club that we've been doing for the past 3 weeks now, and that is Ghostbusters, the video game, 2009. Not the horrible new Ghostbusters game that they just released about a month ago. And we tasked this final week for those that are playing along with us to finish out the game with the last 3 chapters. And we're coming together now to discuss it, discuss the last 3 chapters at least, and then discuss kind of the game as a whole, and maybe where we would rank it, if it's something that we would ever play again, yada yada yada. So, I will turn it over to Screw first to have him give his thoughts on these last 3 chapters. Screw?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, so,
Was it?
I still liked it. I still had a good time with it.
Did you do your weird run where you're not upgrading anything to the end?
Yeah, I never did. I never upgraded.
Oh, very good.
Oh, nice.
Played it all the way through with no enhancements. I had like $285,000 or something like that left in my
And that's good. You can give that money back to the city for all the damage that you probably.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the damage caused was way more than what I collected.
I'll tell you, there was an achievement in the game, on console versions, to keep the damage below a certain fiscal amount.
Oh yeah, that's freaking impossible.
Yeah, actually, it's not. I got it without even knowing that achievement was there.
Oh.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was just shooting everything and hoping I hit something.
Yeah,
so,
I destroyed just about every environment there was.
Anything breakable, I was after because I wanted to see if it was hiding stuff. Every time, I found a lot of collectibles. Yeah, it was cool. I had a good time with it. There were some issues I had with a couple of last levels where it sort of used like a fake difficulty thing.
I saw that.
And I wasn't real pleased with that. Specifically, the invincible gate.
Oh my god!
That was a horrible thing. I really didn't like that.
I think that was a cool idea for a mechanic, but to give you like a 3 or a 9 by 9 foot square with no cover around and have you just surrounded by tons of enemies from every which direction with such a low field of view was pretty lame.
Yeah.
But lots of devs do that. They think that's difficult, and then they shove a bunch of dudes at you, and then it's not difficult. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's just not fun.
There was a D&D game that did a very similar thing where there was a gate that you had to break through, and if you didn't break through in time, like literally it was a timed experience. If you didn't break through in time, it would just keep on swamping you with guys, and there was no way to do it unless you put yourself at great risk,
Yeah, and again, it's like he said, it's a cool concept that was executed very poorly.
Yeah. I like the idea of there needing to be a mechanic to get the gate open. What I had an issue with is that all the Ghostbusters are there at that point, but only Ray will help you because the other guys are on the other side of the gate. And for some reason, even though it looks like it's totally possible to fire streams through the gate or help in some manner, they just stand there.
Whatever. Right?
Yeah.
That
it
was
would
really
have made a
annoying
lot more sense if they were like, oh, cool. So as soon as you smash the first one into them, they maybe help. Because just doing one of them is a hassle in its own right.
Yeah. The slime stream, the secondary fire, and the slime is what got me through it. Because I kept trying it with the the capture stream and then slamming them into it, and it worked a couple of times, but I couldn't stay consistent with that.
Oh, yeah. I just kept doing that until it worked.
Yeah, no, I couldn't stay consistent. I just
I
fired.
saw Shame. You kept on dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I died a lot.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. But anyway, I did like the level design around the cemetery area, the Central Park Cemetery. I like that. That was cool.
That was very cool. Yeah.
I like the enemies in there, except for when it was like, oh, shoot those coffins down while they're flying out of the air, and there was just never time to do that.
Yeah.
Never time to do that.
Again, cool concept that was executed very poorly.
Well, I'm not going to say it was executed really poorly. All it needed to do was be slowed down just a little bit. That was all.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. But and maybe people with faster reaction time might have been able to do that.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing
maybe
really...
if I had upgrades, maybe I could have done it. But I don't know.
Yeah, there was nothing really that I was like, oh man, this is the most broken thing in the whole game. A lot of it was just like, this barely doesn't work or is barely almost broken.
Yeah,
It was very middling.
It's just a little bit more polish would have made things really, really cool. And on the whole, I really liked it. I really liked it. I had fun with it. And as far as the chapters themselves, I actually forgot where we left off last week. I know it was, what was it? It was just after the museum, and what was directly after that?
Return to the Sedgwick Hotel.
Oh yeah, right. Return to Sedgwick. Now this is something I was going to bring up. You mentioned, True, that there was another thing with Slimer that happened, and I never saw it.
Wasn't there a fight with Slimer? He breaks out, and you have to capture him again.
Never happened.
No, that was. I only saw that in the first chapter when you catch.
Okay,
him.
that was okay. Never mind.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to bring that up in the beginning. I guess my brain farted there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I just was like, I wonder if there's some difference in the console version.
No, that was one of my favorite aspects of the game was the fact that Slimer broke free and you went back to the same spot in the hotel to face him again.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that was like the price of admission for the game alone, almost, was reliving that scene from the movie. So,
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was cool. Like, just a fun way to reintroduce yourself to everything. It's cool. But yeah, going back to Sedgwick, that was the spiders, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That was pretty creepy. And again, that was cool. The level design they had there was cool because it followed the same sort of line that the Fisherman one did. It had this cool, like, at first it was like, oh, there's some spider webs around. And then the more and more you went in, the more twisted and distorted the rooms were, and more covered in cobwebs, and rooms were blocked off, and bodies hanging from the ceiling wrapped up. And
I believe you that's
really,
the case.
Really drew you in on that.
Gray, did you happen to watch my video of that particular area?
I didn't see that bit, but I saw a lot of it.
Did you happen to notice anything that was going on with my camera?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
My camera, I'll actually do my screen share with you guys for that one, because that was wacky.
I don't remember camera issues being a big problem in that game. Maybe there was a weird port with the PC version. I'm not sure.
It's definitely not a very solid port on the PC side. I think this is after.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's well after.
That's
okay,
a little bit
find
part. I did like the spider boss. Was pretty fun. It was a nice large area. Plenty of room to move around, and the cool mechanic of, make sure it doesn't heal itself up. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then after that was the island that came up, which I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
The Lost Island, yeah.
Yeah, I liked that place a lot. That was neat, going through there in like the hedgerow. That at first I was like, man, this place, I hate this place. And then I figured out that if I shot the hedges, they would just burn down.
Yep.
So if I was like, oh well, I can do that. So that makes things way easier and helped out quite a bit. Lots of collectibles again. Pretty neat level design. And the boss there was pretty easy, I think, in comparison to everything else. But I had a good time with it. I was really enjoying it. The one room I didn't really like in the island was underneath the castle when you were going through like the sewers.
Oh yeah.
And you ended up with like the slime monsters, which weren't really that tough, but you
They were
you had-
annoying.
you had such a huge room to move around in, and it was another one of those things where I was getting hung up on everything. I would try to make a corner and I would get stuck, and the monster would hit me, and they were pretty much one shots. Those guys, if they hit you, you were down. Or for me, I don't. Maybe that was something to do with upgrades. I don't know, but. So I ended up fighting two of those guys, of course, because that's what you get, and you move on. But I really enjoyed that kind of like Dr. Frankenstein's lab sort of aspect of everything. It was really neat, the tanks and the hoses and just kind of technology way beyond the time scale that was supposed to be. That was pretty fun. And the last level in the cemetery I talked about already. I enjoyed that. You get the you even get the little Easter egg there with when the mayor holds up. Maybe it's the mayor when the mayor holds up Gozer's head.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was cool.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think overall I liked it quite a bit actually. It had some flaws here and there that are a little bit like frustrating, but I didn't think it was anything game breaking.
As you can see, this area, for whatever reason, changed the sensitivity of my mouse. So a lot of the times you'll just see me moving just right, because this is how my camera was acting in this whole area. This is just me just trying to aim at the door. I even turned my mouse hardware settings down to 800 DPI. I usually go at 8200 DPI. And it didn't change anything. It was still ridiculous, like that sensitive for some reason.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm done with as soon as I get to the Spider Queen, though, it works perfectly fine again.
Yeah,
That's weird. Yeah, I never had that problem on the PlayStation 3 version.
Yeah. It's just not a good PC port.
Yeah.
and see that didn't happen to me at all.
Yeah, I
and I
didn't
was
really
also
find
using
anyone
it.
with that issue on the forums either. But I mean, they didn't have the same hardware that my computer has around when this game was ported. So
Exactly.
who knows what's going on there? I could
Okay,
figure
well,
it out.
since you're talking, why don't you give your thoughts on the last 3 levels?
So I think that this is the climax is really cool, because what it does is, one of the great things about this game is that it keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, and by the time you hit that end stretch with the cemetery and the way it's set up, you're back in the overworld, and that's really neat because it's really spooky, and it's a great feel for a Ghostbusters finale. I don't think it's, like, just looking at it and watching it, I don't think it's as iconic as the Marshmallow Man, but or as memorable maybe, but it was a good way to sort of send the game off. Would I play it again? I didn't play it. Would I play it again? I don't. This is the kind of game that sets itself up as a movie, so unfortunately it's the kind of thing that you can only go through like maybe once or twice, and I've seen it now, so I'm not likely to do it. But it is the kind of game that invites you to go back through it again to find all the missing collectibles, because one of the great things about it is that the collectibles aren't nearly as much busy work as some of the other games where they have collectibles, because you generally keep tripping over them if you're looking around.
No, most of the time I just found collectibles while I was trying to find out where to go next.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And that I think is a
don't
very
Very
good
few of
design.
them were super hidden. I mean, some of them they hid. But if you're like me and you explore in video games,
Yeah.
period, you're gonna find all of them pretty simply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the-
it was a matter of, for me, it was a matter of just if I wasn't doing anything story related, I had the PKE meter.
Yeah.
on.
Right. So I think that the way it set itself up with the climax, going back to the hotel, was very cool, because you kind of get a sense of we've been here, we've seen what it was like before. Now we're seeing it, and it's more screwed up again. And just the run up to the end was very neatly set up and nicely done. So I think as a Ghostbusters game that moves the Ghostbusters story and franchise along, it was a very good experience.
Yeah, I like to do it. You know, I do want to say though that I was really disappointed because also in that very end stream that you had Ecto 1 there the whole time, pulling Ecto 1 all the way through that level, and then it never gets used.
Yeah.
Doesn't it get destroyed?
Well, not destroyed, but it breaks down. It gets like zapped and then it breaks down, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we'll just have to leave it here." And I'm like, "Well, why in the hell do we even bring it all the way through? Was that really just?"
Yeah, and then they were like, "How about we let the newbie drive?" And I was like, "Oh my god, thank God, something different to do." And they're like, "Nah."
Nah.
I was like, "Well, fuck you then."
But that's an example of the game not taking itself seriously. Like, I don't think the discussion probably ever came up, oh, should we have a driving level? Well, let's make fun of the fact that, people probably want a driving level, but we're not going to give it to them, but we have a good excuse, because we're not going to let the rookie freaking drive.
Yeah, no, I was okay with that.
I guess that brings up kind of my problem with the rookie in general. I never felt any reason that this game couldn't have just had me play as the four various Ghostbusters, maybe like 2 levels apiece throughout the whole game, and not ever have the rookie. It just, I don't know. It wouldn't really change it one way or the other, but I didn't really feel that he added much of a need to the story. And I'm going to have to disagree with Gray on the whole moving the franchise forward thing, because this game's story does the exact same thing that Ghostbusters 2 does, which is just retread the exact same narrative of the first movie, and it visits the same locations that that sequel does as well. Adds a few new interesting creatures to the lore, sure, and the new weapon tech I think is cool, but the narrative is the exact same thing we've seen twice before now.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I don't think that you can do a lot more with the narrative than what they are doing. That's the problem with the Ghostbusters franchise. The only way that I think
I don't know.
You can move
I think the animated series came up with a few clever ways to really expand upon the lore and take it into different scenarios.
Right, but that's about all you can do. There are 2 ways to approach something like this. The one way is to move the characters forward, which this game doesn't really do at all, because we see them as we've seen them in 1 and 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you can do is add mythos to the world that you're in. In other words, add new twists and wrinkles and layers. And that's what I mean by moving it forward, because they do add, like you said, different creatures and that kind of thing. Do I think it's the best Ghostbusters movie? Because that's basically what this boils down to. Not really. But I think that it does move the franchise forward significantly in a sense that it gives us more stuff in that world. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think, so, my thoughts on the matter is this was more or less the script that they had planned for Ghostbusters 3.
Yes.
Give or take.
That's my
Sigourney Weaver was originally in the original script, but you can see how, obviously, if this was a movie and not a video game, the rookie would have had dialogue. I understand what they were doing with the rookie, because they were really doing a placeholder so you felt like one of the Ghostbusters.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. Because I did feel like one of the Ghostbusters, and that's, when you play a Ghostbusters game, you want to feel like one of the Ghostbusters. Maybe not. I was okay never playing as Ray or Peter, yada yada yada, because I don't want to be them. I want to be a Ghostbuster, but I want to be a Ghostbuster.
Yeah, right.
I like the aspect that this game gave you the chance to experience Ghostbusters side by side with them without becoming them.
That's fine, but if you're going to do that, then I think you need to have the player characters character actually contribute something.
Yeah,
And he never
that
does.
that's the one problem I do have with it, is that I do get what they were trying to do, like Screw and True Legend Killer were saying, but the issue is that you just feel blank. I mean, if they took your character away, it wouldn't matter to the story at all.
Yeah,
basically.
Right.
Yeah, we are Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark in this one.
Yeah, that's right. We don't matter at all. Let's do it.
No.
The only other kind of complaint that I had was in the final boss fight, and the fact that you don't actually get to finish the boss fight. It's one of those cinematic endings.
Oh yeah.
They have them cross the streams, and I think it would have been cool to be like, yeah, let me cross the streams.
I do feel like though that was the only boss fight where the level designer actually took consideration of the awful character controller that you have in this game and built the level design around that, because it actually gave you enough room and gave you enough time to be able to hit the button, wait 5 seconds, and then him dodge kind of thing. All the other boss fights were a little more restrained and kind of demanded a more finesse character controller that the game doesn't have.
Yeah, see, I don't really have an issue with the character controller. I never felt a whole lot of weird input lag and stuff. The mouse acceleration feels that way from the start, but I adapted to it pretty quickly. So I didn't really have that much of an issue with it. What I did have an issue with, again, during that last boss fight, is that when he's charging himself back up, those pylons that he's charging himself up with, when you shoot those, because you have to destroy them, they fall into something like hundreds of tiny little 3D pieces.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you told me about turning off the debris.
Yeah, the persistent debris, yeah. Because if you had that on, man, I mean, it would tank your frame rate. Within probably the third time I attacked him, and all those pieces fell on the ground and stayed there, I dropped to 3 frames a second.
Jesus. I mean, it's still varied mine, because most of the game ran, 50 to 60 most of the game, but during that one, it would go between 30 and 60 very inconsistently while those things are being destroyed, even with it off.
Yeah, I was at 130 frames a second.
So I'm going to do something that maybe say something that might upset the listeners. This is where I feel like consoles almost have an edge, because I don't know many very many games that drop in frame rate on console.
Well, they don't give you the option to let that happen.
Well, they don't drop in frame rate, and yes, I agree that having a steady low frame rate like consoles usually have at running at 30 FPS is better than having variable frame rate. I'd rather a game just be locked at 30 FPS and never vary in between areas than be able to run at 60 but have variable frame rate between 30 and 60. That's way worse than just having it locked at 30. But there are tons of games on console that still have really variable frame rate while being locked at 30. Red Dead Redemption, Dark Souls 1, especially in Blighttown, Grand Theft Auto 4. It's just as many problems as you would run to on PC. It's just they're locked at a lower frame rate to begin with.
I know when I play this game, I never have a frame rate issue.
I'm sure if I locked this game at 30, it probably would have been okay. But also that the persisting debris is not on console to begin with. That's an extra thing they added for PC so it would look better. It's just that's
probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I turned that off, it was fine. It was 120 frames a second all the way through again.
Yeah.
I mean that was sort of a wow moment, because when they shatter, it's literally just
that
3D
probably
pieces.
comes to speak with whichever company ported this to PC, because it might not have been Terminal Reality. A lot of the times they hire a separate developer entirely to do the port to PC, and I guarantee you they were probably just like, alright, this thing's working most of the time, alright, play a few levels and we'll call it quits. They probably never even tested the final boss.
Yeah, that was the only area I ever had a frame rate problem. Otherwise, it ran really, really smooth.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, the The not being able to actually end the final boss fight was probably my biggest complaint. Everywhere else, you were able to do that. And this one, they were like, yeah, keep going. And you finally get him down, and they're like, it's time, cross the streams. They say it, and you can still move around and do something. And then suddenly a cinematic comes up, and so everybody crosses the streams, and the boss is dead. And I was like, I felt a little cheated from that. I wanted to be able to do that. I don't see why you couldn't have done that.
I guess it didn't bother me because I was just like, oh god, it's finally over.
Yeah, well, the first time I played it, it didn't bother me. In fact, it felt very much like the first movie in some regards, because in some ways I always felt, especially the older I get, that in some ways the final boss fight, goes around the top of the hotel or the apartment complex, is kind of anticlimactic because they cross the streams and then it's over. Yeah. It's not a big, like, if it was Hollywood now, it would be a big, long, drawn-out fight. And I think that's what they were trying to capture almost in the game, was you just had a big, long fight that's supposed to be a little bit difficult because it's the final boss fight. So they're trying to wrap it up and make it feel like the movie, where it's just like, okay, cross the streams, blah, we're done, we saved the day. But with that being said, my second, third, I think this is my fourth or fifth time playing through the game. I would have wished that they would have allowed us to, like, you would have seen the other Ghostbusters line up, and then you would have to walk up to them and, like, have some sort of maybe almost button mashing, because in the movies you saw how difficult it was for them to bring them closer. Yeah. So something like that would have been cool.
Yeah, the other side of that is that they never give you that option earlier in the game. So there's nothing to. It would be a one-time mechanic. So I kind of understand why they didn't do it. Yeah. But I would have liked to have been able to, switch over to the capture stream and curve your beam into theirs or something like that and hold it for a few seconds, and then there we go. I just would have liked to have been able to finish that fight myself, but it was still all right. It was also a really easy boss fight, which I had a bit of an issue with, even with no upgrades. The only reason I failed the first time was because 3 frames a second. I couldn't do anything.
I never remember having trouble in the boss fight ever again. I upgraded fully every time I've ever played this game, and a part of me almost kind of like that, because every other boss fight I kind of had to struggle through, but by the end, you're a true Ghostbuster. You should feel badass and ready to do this.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
No, I agree with that, but also you're supposed to be fighting an actual like Gozer type god. I mean, it's not. It's Shandor, but
yeah.
It's the other bosses are quote supreme beings, but this guy, I don't know. He's the final. He's the big, Thanos type. Whatever. I'll do it myself. Kind of. Yeah. I expected it to be
Shandor. That's what they call them. Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Just okay. Yoda, overall, did you enjoy this game? Because it feels like you started out really enjoying this game, and each of these podcasts afterwards, it seems like you hate the game more and more.
I don't hate the game. This isn't like a Dane Cook special. I'm not on a boat. I don't hate the game, but I don't like it overall. I think it had a pretty strong first hour, but after that, I couldn't stand its core gameplay loop, and I personally wouldn't recommend it. Usually, in a game where I'm not a fan of playing it, the story, because I do like story in a lot of games, and usually story would be enough to motivate me to play it through. But this is a case where I'm glad we're doing the Game Club, because without having to have beaten it, I would have just stopped. I wouldn't have cared that much to actually play it through. I personally, if you want to play a really good Ghostbusters game, get a GameCube, grab Luigi's Mansion. Has all these same mechanics, including the whole sweeping in ghosts, except you can capture multiple at once, unlike this game.
That was problematic. That was really, really problematic. The fact that you had to put down a trap for each ghost separately. It was just like,
I'm actually not sure how we didn't bring up Luigi's Mansion a long time ago, thinking about it, because it honestly plays exactly like this game, except the character controller is really strong, and there's not a fuck ton of bugs everywhere. Obviously, it's not Ghostbusters themed, it's Mario themed, but it's basically the same game. And yeah, I'd rather... Now I just want to play Luigi's Mansion. That's my review of Ghostbusters the video game. Play Luigi's Mansion.
Play Luigi's Mansion. Right.
Okay, so here's how I approached the game. And the reason I nominated this game is, number one, I adore this game. Yeah, it was. I adore this game. I do fully think of it as the third movie. So once a year, normally I sit down, especially in October, and I will watch Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, and then I'll pop in the game and replay the game. Is it a flawless game? No. But for me, I am such a big Ghostbusters fan that I can overlook the negative aspects and still have fun and still laugh every single time I play the game, and feel good every time I play the game. To me, it still has replay value after all these years, and that's why I nominated it for this round of Game Club. And I mean, there was other games, and there are other games that I would nominate, and now I feel a little bit hesitant now that...
No, don't.
No, don't. I mean, we're not all going to agree on every game. That's the point of a club.
That come up from there.
Yeah.
But anyways, so to me, this game holds a special place in my heart. It always will. Maybe it's simply the console versions are superior. Maybe not graphically. I mean, okay, I will give you guys your PC master race. You will always have better
It's not
graphics.
the PC's fault that it's bad. It's the developer or publisher, whoever did the port, is the reason why the PC version is not as great.
The big thing about this game for me is it has heart, and you can tell throughout the whole game that Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd put everything they had into this.
Yeah, you know, that's...
They did, and I agree with Grey
Story-wise.
Wolf that it works fine as a movie, but movies aren't games. Games aren't movies.
Yeah.
Games are way harder to write for, and I don't think they quite knew how to do that. And so I don't think the writing held up very strongly in a game. That's just my opinion.
That's that topic you keep trying to get to, and we never do.
Yeah, we might end up just doing it right now, because this is the perfect example. It's people who are great at writing movies can't write a game for shit.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, as a movie, I think it works very... If you stripped out, like, all the gameplay, and you just tacked on...
Yeah, and
like,
all the, like, super obvious gaming caveat writing parts, like, oh wait, we haven't gone to the library yet. Hey, there's something going on at the library, we better get over there, because, like, you know, you gotta have the library in a Ghostbusters game, even though it does nothing to the story.
And if you took all of that away, and you just dropped in, like, the cutscenes, you would have a tolerable third movie, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that is really, from my perspective, as a person who doesn't like shooters at all, watching someone actually play it just made me think that so much of it was terrible busy work, you know? And that's not a good feeling to have for a game. You should never feel like this is terrible busy work.
Which is weird, because the game's only still, like, 7 hours long, I think it took me to beat, so I don't...
Yeah.
At least they didn't pad it out to be like a 20-hour game like Borderlands.
No, thank God for that.
Yeah. I think I spent 13 in it.
Oh, that's not too bad. Well,
but again, I didn't upgrade and I died a lot.
It was super hard, yeah. You probably died a lot.
Uh-huh.
So, True Legend Killer, don't feel bad. It's not that we don't like your game. We're just seeing different things in it.
No,
yeah.
It seems like I'm the only one who doesn't really like the game overall. Screw seems to like it. Gray seems to like the story. He just is old and can't play games.
Yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I think I also come into a different aspect because I am such a, you know, huge fan.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with Ghostbusters. I grew up with the original movies, the original cartoon show. I rewatched the movies every year. So for when this game came out, not only did I have it pre-ordered and paid off months in advance, but I remember when, it finally was released, I went home, I opened it, I did nothing else but play it for like 3-4 hours straight. And I loved every minute of it.
I think if I played this back when I was younger and still thought Ghostbusters 2 was awesome, I would like this game a lot more.
It might have been a different.
Or if I
still
played
think
it back in
Ghostbusters 2 is
2009,
Okay, it's okay.
when these mechanics weren't as annoying, like having 7 or 8 actions bound to one key, being a normal thing, I would have probably liked it more. But I don't really think it holds up almost 10 years later.
Okay. Well, there was one other thing about it that I wanted to bring up. Did you guys stick around for the credits to hear that little exchange?
No.
Yes.
No.
What happened at the end? Someone
Okay,
needs to-
so I don't think it's not an actual cutscene. It's just
It's just dialogue.
voiceover from the original cast, and they're basically talking about how the rookie did, and they come to the consensus, especially Peter, that he has proved himself, and then it comes to the fact that, but the thing is, we don't want him around. We're kind of a well-oiled machine, and we don't need him. But we have openings for now a branch to expand, and they list a few places. Like one, I think they said was in Boston, and one was in San Francisco.
Chicago. Yeah.
Chicago, was another one. And they're like, we can send them there. And so it was kind of like their way in a third movie to really pass the torch.
Right.
For like a fourth, if there was going to be another game or something like that, where they would pass the torch where the originals wouldn't be in it. And it would be maybe Rookie stepping up and actually having a name, having a voice, and building his own team in another satellite location.
Yeah, so what I thought was actually interesting about that, when I was hearing it, the new Ghostbusters game that's out now, the one that's so bad,
actually takes
is one of those
that
branch
and runs with
divisions.
it.
Yeah.
Well, they did that in the animated show, The Real Ghostbusters, too. The one where Slimer becomes a Ghostbuster.
Well, actually, the new game, because I watched Angry Joe's review, it's not a satellite branch. They're basically the graveyard shift when the other female Ghostbusters are off in another city doing something.
Yeah, right. I watched that too, yeah.
So, no, but I still think if you want a good Ghostbusters game, this is going to be the best bet.
Yeah,
I agree. Without a doubt. This is
I mean,
probably
I understand what Yoda is saying, and like, Luigi's Mansion. Okay, but that's not a Ghostbusters game. That's a Mario game.
But
and
if that exact game had the theme Ghostbusters on it, it would be the same thing.
This has better writing. Luigi's Mansion may have better gameplay mechanics.
I totally disagree. I think Luigi's Mansion is actually way better written than this. Because Luigi's Mansion scared me a fuck ton as a kid, and I wanted to stop playing it because I was scared, but I kept doing it because I wanted to find out what was happening in the story, which is not what happened with this game.
Okay. Anyways, so are we rolling for another game, or are we just... I think we're done. I think we've covered everything for this game. I think, whoever's listening has a nice mixed kind of review. If you're a diehard fan, you may really, really like this game still. Although I would recommend that you play it on console if you can get your hands on it, so you don't have those frame rate issues.
Well, you won't have those frame rate issues as long as you keep persistent debris off.
And that's only for the final boss fight, so it's fine. Like,
yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, you have you have a nice, our listeners have a nice kind of basis of someone like Yoda who is very analytical, dissecting the game. You have someone like me and Screw that are more the diehard fans, and then you have Wolf who is a seasoned veteran, and this is not his cup of tea, but still recognizes its place in the mythos, so to speak. So,
yeah, I
People
like
are gonna
it as
think
a,
I
as a,
hate Ghostbusters. I
like,
don't. I love
literally,
Ghostbusters.
If this
I
was the
love the
third movie,
animated
it
show.
would be okay.
Yeah, I'm on the same thing there.
switching over, are we going to roll, or are we going to do that other pick from when this one was picked?
We are gonna do another roll.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We ready? We
Yeah,
ready?
who's
I guess
Ready?
so.
My
Alright.
body is ready.
What? Who are the numbers?
All right. What do you want to be?
Yeah.
Number 1 Screw for hammer fight, or number 2?
One's fine. I don't care.
All right. Hammer fight for 1. Papers, please, for Dose.
Nope,
Alright.
we're playing
Please.
papers, please.
We're paying papers, please. And I'm basically currently playing the 2016 version of Papers, Please. It's just called This Is the Police.
Yeah.
Basically the same game. Sweet.
Okay, so for those listening, our next Game Club game is Papers, Please. I don't think we're going to be doing a big long series. We're just going to...
No, we're just
No.
gonna do a one week shoot with Papers, Please. It's 3 to 4 hours long. If you want to maybe play it twice.
Yeah, because there are different endings, right?
There are 22 different endings, I believe. One of them I think you can get in about 2 hours, and if you're trying to play as morally uncorruptible as possible, that's probably what you'll get, because you'll just end up dying really quickly. But if that's the ending you want to stick with and then talk about, sure, we'll talk about that. So yeah, everyone play a round of Papers, please. We'll come back here this time next week, and we'll discuss this amazing little game from 2014 by a man named Lucas Pope.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We'll see you then.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching this final wrap-up episode of the Game Club for Ghostbusters, the video game from 2009. If
We're
you didn't
doing
play
really
it
well
and are
now.
watching all
We've
this,
actually finished 2 games.
Yeah.
yeah, we finished 2 games. That is infinitely more than the last time we tried Game Club, where we didn't finish anything. I think we did 2 levels. Was it 2 levels a day
We
in
did
Sex?
2 levels.
Yeah.
And then I was like on a podcast, we'll see you in Game Club next week, and it never happened.
Awesome. All right. For Estorska. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Kiki.